Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2019 career mode, episode number 73 today for the Austrian Grand Prix in Season 4. If you guys did miss the previous one, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. A rather messy weekend turned good at the French GP, and now we come to Austria, the Red Bull Ring. Red Bull should be pretty good around here, but I'm expecting obviously the likes of Renault and Racing Point to be even better. But we have no upgrades to talk about, so there's no real point even delving into the R&D chart. The weather is going to look pretty clear, so for once there's not actually much to discuss. Let's just get straight into this then and see what the pace is like over one lap around Austria.
Joining us once again for today's qualifying session. Sit back, relax and enjoy what we hope will be a fantastic contest for pole position. So then, Ant, it's another Grand Prix weekend, another exciting qualifying session ahead of us. What are you going to be looking out for over the next few minutes?
The first question is going to be who can avoid making mistakes. There isn't much margin for error in qualifying, and you have to bear in mind that the track conditions may have changed since practice, particularly as we've had a few support races in the meantime. If the brake bias settings, for example, don't take this into account, it's extremely easy to lock up a front wheel and cause a flat spot. Just like that, your lap's ruined and you've wasted a set of tyres to boot.
So kicking things off in Q1, then overcast conditions at the moment there, so maybe the track a little bit cold, but it will be heating up as the sun comes out later as we go towards the top-end shootout. I don't know if that affected things because the car was feeling quite on this area, you could see there in the last sector, so the lap time wasn't amazing. It's going to be enough to get us through into Q2 though in P13, but a lot to be desired basically from that first lap. If we do mention the pecking order, obviously last time at France, it did seem like McLaren made a massive step forward there, and they looked very dominant at the French GP. Hulkenberg looked great as ever and consistent as ever in that Racing Point car of his, so it'll be interesting to see how they do, but I'm hoping that we can speed up a little bit and be right there. Obviously we're in the championship kind of fight at the moment, obviously early stages, so it's not, obviously nothing's really crucial at this point, but obviously you still want to score points and be as consistent as possible. Q2 though, we do find some more speed, we go top there, so that was very positive. But then into our top 10 run, the first run, massive lockup for us, and unlike in Q2 where I carried quite a decent amount of momentum despite a lockup on the front right, that time I actually scrubbed off a lot of speed, and in the last corner found again some understeer and just missed that apex and went way too wide. So it's a bit of a poor lap for me on that first run, so we have one lap to go then on fresh set of soft tyres to try and do better. At the moment Max Verstappen is on pole position here in the Renault. Weber looking good in P5 though, and I think the Racing Point cars are probably in between, and I believe Hamilton is also up there in between Weber and Verstappen at the moment. But you can see we gained a lot of time on that right-hander at the end of sector 1, and then also here through the right-hander, no lock-up there, a little bit over-aggressive on the curb, but we still find some time, and we're up about 2/10 this is, as we're now going to close up to Devon Butler a little bit as we go towards then the line. What is it going to be across the line? It's a big improvement for us. It's P2 at the time, but then by the time we get to the end of the session, we go down the order to P6, and in the end, it actually looks like that's probably the best I could have hoped for. Maybe beating Hamilton, but it was very close between myself and Hamilton. But you can see it's all very Noah's Ark, like, 2x2, 2 Red Bulls, 2 Renaults, and to my surprise, Hulkenberg down in P10, the championship leader down in P10. So Racing Point may be lacking some pace here at Austria, and like I mentioned, Red Bull were probably going to look good around here. It's not only their home Grand Prix, they've always kind of gone well around this kind of circuit anyway, even though it is a bit of a power circuit. Also, you do need a lot of good aero and a good chassis for the Sector 2 to carry that momentum through all those long, high-speed corners. So, no real shocker there, but for us, it just seems like that's where we were, really, so I can't be too disheartened by that. So let's just go into the race tomorrow. It looks like it's going to be all clear, so we're just trying to do the best job we can and try and match Hamilton minimum, and then kind of see what we can do. But unfortunately, like last time at France, I have a maybe suspicion that the top guys, they might have a good chance of running away if they have that kind of lead and break that DRS toe. But let's just see. Let's go to the grid on Sunday.
What a beautiful backdrop to a motor race. We're here in the Styrian Mountains, of course, and they've watched over some cracking races throughout the history of this Grand Prix. Controversy, of course, think back to 2002, but also great joy. Do you remember Niki Lauda's historic home victory in 1984? The Spielberg circuit then is situated 700 metres above sea level, with just 10 corners making up one of the shortest laps of the season. One time around here is a distance of 2.6 miles, with the best overtaking chances into turn 1 or the tight uphill turn 3. Anthony Davidson, a very warm welcome to you as you join me in the commentary box for today's event. Let's talk about the engineer. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
They've been avoiding mistakes and have had solid pace, so it's been a good season so far, but whether they can keep that up long term remains to be seen.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Pierre Gasly lines up on pole position, and Devon Butler lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Weber, Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, the engineer, Stroll, Kvyat, Hulkenberg, and Roman Grosjean, Ricciardo, Norris, Antonio Giovinazzi, and Perez, Vettel, Russell, Valtteri Bottas, and Kimi Raikkonen. Leclerc and Kevin Magnussen fills the last spot on the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Alright, so here we are then on the grid alongside Lewis Hamilton. The race strategy today will be quite actually simple, really. At Austria, usually it's a two-stop actually, but now with the tyre wear levels, it's a one-stop either way, from the softs to the mediums or softs to the hards. My team have actually recommended I do the hard strategy, but I don't think we need to. I don't think we need to be scared. I think the mediums will go the distance, because the softs, I remember from last season, went about half the race distance. So we're just going to go with that strategy, and I'm sure most people will do that as well. So here we go then to 5 red lights to the Austrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring with a front row of Red Bulls. 5 red lights are out, and we're underway here. And it's a bit of a poor start really for us compared to Lewis Hamilton there. We get swamped to the left and the right by the Racing Point and the Alfa Romeo car of Danica Fiat there. Hamilton with a good move around the outside of Verstappen to get up into P4. We've had a bit of a slow one really, probably one of the slowest starts I've had all season actually. So we need to now chase after Max Verstappen. Where is he going to go? He goes quite defensive to the inside, leaves the space open there, the door open basically for me to just jump through, and we're up into P5 then. Yellow flags just behind us for a bit of an incident, but we're up into P5. So a good start for us actually. P4, 5 now, up 1 position each, or 2 positions actually in case of Hamilton there. And so now we go chasing after Hamilton, but it takes us 3 whole laps to really get into the groove. From lap 1 to about 4, I just didn't have the pace actually to be there with Hamilton. It was only up until this lap then that I thought, okay, now I can maybe try and attack him. And actually, the first time I dropped Verstappen, you can see in the minimap, he's now struggling to defend against the Alfa Romeo. And here we go now, a nice little switchback move from the left to the right then. Now we go wheel to wheel there as we jockey for position there, and you can see wobbling left and right as we try and play a little bit of chicken with each other on this back straight. Down into the right hand side, down the hill, Hamilton on the outside, me on the right on the inside there. Now get the power down as early as we can, and we're going to squeeze Hamilton to the left, but he's going to keep his nose in there. We have to leave him the space there, and he has the better racing line, because when you get too wide on this corner, you can't get the nose turned in anymore, and so we lose the back end a little bit. You can see the wobble on the steering wheel, the kind of soaring away, keeping the car in a straight line, and so we have to live to fight for another day here with Hamilton. But I'm already sensing this might be a mega battle here, because Hamilton is looking a little bit feisty, and you can see the gap there is actually quite big to the next Renault of Weber. So unfortunately, I feel like this will be another race where, like in France, the other guys ahead of us just have way too much pace, and so this might be just an inter-team battle, but I'm fine with that, because right now it's a ding-dong one as we go for another switchback. We're in from the left to right again, trying to straighten out the car. We go down to Hamilton. We were going to try and go down on the right-hand side, but Hamilton really blocks us off there and almost puts us completely on the grass, and I'm glad that was in a straight line. If that was a corner, I would have definitely spanned the car, but again, we go for that similar move, trying to out-track Hamilton, and this time we squeeze him out on the left-hand side, get across onto the racing line, and we're able to keep that through, but we go a little bit too deep and a bit too hot as we have to lift off and just about keep the car on the track there. Hamilton has a better exit. He's come back at us now on the right-hand side, and we make contact, and we drift and have to use Hamilton as a bit of an aid and a stop to stop our car spinning. And so this is turning into a fantastic battle now for 2 laps straight between myself and Lewis Hamilton there. And twice now I've almost spanned it, probably once on the grass earlier, and there that was probably even closer there. I'm so glad Hamilton's rear tyre was just there to help balance the car a little bit. Obviously it's not for that, but needs must. But we try now, make a move on the outside, didn't work out there on lap number 6. Hamilton covers that off pretty damn well, and so we have to go again and recompose ourselves again for another attack on the next lap, on lap 7. And it's that same hairpin corner, the end of sector 1. Again, Hamilton goes very defensive early to the inside there, compromises his own line, and so for the 3rd or 4th time now, we go for that switch from the left to right, try to straighten the car faster. Hamilton this time goes to the middle quite awkwardly, and so we go on the outside there. So this is going to be the worst line to this next corner, but if I can get a good enough exit, this should be the better line to then carry forward the speed, and we get that done, and we are able to cover him off and remain in P4 now. But for how much longer? Because he's right there still, and he's right up my gearbox once again, and so he goes for a move on the left. We go defensive to the inside there, a little bit early on the brakes to be honest, because I'd rather be behind here. Austria, because we're so equalised, and Austria is one of those tracks where you know that up ahead the DRS is going to be there, it's going to be powerful, so there's no point finding it too much into turn 1. We're both going to lose way too much time into turn 1 battling, so I'd rather just try and redo the pass pass here, or if I can't get it done now, then basically just redo it on the next lap, and that's exactly what's going to happen, because on lap number 8 we couldn't get it done. Lap number 9 though, we're back again into turn 1. Good entry there, a little bit of a poor exit though. Open DRS, overtake mode, and Rich Mix going. We're going to instantly gain acceleration back, and so we fade to the left, go to right very aggressively there, nearly get the tire on the grass, nearly hit Hamilton on the left, and this has been an absolutely insane battle. This is what I signed up for when we signed for Mercedes in this career mode. Wheel to wheel, non-stop action with our teammate Hamilton. Absolutely crazy stuff. He comes back again. He's just got so much speed in the straight line, even though we're in hot lap mode and overtake mode there. I think the engine must be overheating a little bit, being in dirty air, of course, but he's gaining so much speed. I wonder if he's running lower downforce than me, but we go very aggressive on the left there. Try to, again, play chicken with him, basically, and Hamilton is just got balls of steel. He's just not budging, and he's not, you know, falling for any of these tricks, and he's just keeping his foot on the loud pedal and keeping it in there. Here he gets a little bit aggressive there with the defensive blocking, fair play, and so we have to open DRS and go for the move in a more simpler manner here, trying to wind up the speed rather than getting the exit on the acceleration. But we go to the right hand side again. Hamilton just leaves us enough room on the right to work with. We lock him on the front right, try my best to squeeze him out, but of course he is my teammate, so I've got to give him a little bit more room than I usually would others, but we are still trying our best. But Hamilton keeps the foot in on the left hand side, and we're yo-yoing up and down basically in terms of the way we battle each other. And there, once again, a little bit aggressive from him and a little bit clumsy from me in terms of going a little bit too off there on the right hand side and getting some grass and gravel on the tyre. So we have to recompose ourselves again for another lap here. But this has just been absolutely bonkers. We started fighting on lap number 4, and now I don't even know what lap it is. Is it lap number 10? I think it is. Lap number 11. We've been battling for 7 laps. 7 laps we'll be going at this, and this will be an 8th lap if we continue to go on, because again, into turn 1, this time we get the move done actually on the exit of turn 1, which might not be the best thing though, because now remember there's a DRS zone on the next straight, and now Hamilton's the one that has that. We lock up on the front right as well, and that really doesn't help us out there in terms of compromising our exit off that straight. And so here comes Hamilton. Will he make a move? Where are we going to go? We spark away there, but Hamilton does not have enough speed. We can actually hold this through and keep this going here for one more lap at least in this position, but Hamilton surely will have something up the sleeve. No, he won't. No, he won't. We move on one lap later, and he's been swarmed by the Renault of Verstappen and Kvyat in the Alfa Romeo, and the other racing point of Lance Stroll, I believe that is. And so Verstappen now is the one chasing after me. Hamilton is absolutely, he's done for. He's been overtaken by 1 or 2 cars in the span of one corner. Verstappen comes up my inside. You can see there, I tried my hardest to squeeze him so hard on the right, and Max just kept it in there on the right. These AI are really aggressive today in today's episode, and so we go for another move to try and re-overtake Verstappen on the left-hand side there. He's on my inside though. We lock up on the front right, giving the space on the inside, and again, like we saw with Hamilton, through this corner, the AI are just so good at accelerating off that corner compared to myself. We go a little bit toe-to-toe, a bit of contact made, and Verstappen gets the job done, and we're down the position. And to be fair, the Renault probably, it does have more race pace than us. Obviously, Weber, you've seen, he's waltzed away from us. He's nowhere to be seen. He's up with the 2 Red Bull cars in P3 there, so I'm not surprised if now this is the last we see of Verstappen. I'm going to try my best to keep up with him, but you can see there, I almost had to fake a little bit and give a bit of room to Kvyat because he tried to lunge down the inside last corner. So all of a sudden, on lap 14 now, the pace is kind of just lacking in both us Mercedes cars, because now Hamilton's, I think he's already been overtaken by the Alfa and is now being chased down by the Racing Point, and I've obviously now been susceptible to that Alfa, so we're just about hanging on here in P4, and by the time we move on to P15, lap 15, it's time to come in for our first and only pit stop of this Grand Prix, then onto a set of mediums like I mentioned. But I mean, wow, that was such a great battle. That was just, I just need to say, that was an insane battle. Literally, what was that? Lap 4 to lap 13, I think. And I think that's when Verstappen overtook us. So that was 9 laps. 9 laps of absolute carnage and just great battling between myself and Hamilton. That's, like I said, that's exactly what I signed up for when I wanted to come to Mercedes and be teammates with Lewis Hamilton. We finally got that. Absolutely awesome stuff. So we come out then P11. Hamilton stayed out, so I'm going to see hopefully if this is going to maintain that position. Also on the likes of Kvyat as well. Verstappen up ahead has already overtaken Lando Norris. Norris in the McLaren obviously was so good at France, but he's actually had an issue issue in this race now, and he's coming in for his pit stop now, and we're already catching him up. So he's had a major issue that slowed him down this entire Grand Prix. So a bit of a shame for our fellow Brit. But we now move on towards lap number 17, and let's see where we're going to be. You can see I'm weaving around trying to get some heat into these tyres, because the mediums on that outlap felt absolutely horrendous, like stone cold, no grip. So hopefully they kind of heat up and come towards me. But we move 3 laps later, and that's not really... it's either that, they're not coming to me, or this car is now just lost some pace once again in the race, a la kind of like what happened in Canada, because now Leclerc, my old teammate from last season, comes through on the left-hand side. We're going to very aggressively just defend against him there. You can see no love lost between myself and Leclerc, clearly, in the Toro Rosso, and so we maintain the P5 for now. But you can see now Leclerc and also Sergio Perez are right there in the mix. Leclerc down the inside on lap 23 this is, so another 3 laps have gone, and still the car's gaining no real pace, and I'm feeling pretty horrendous out here right now in the Mercedes, I can't lie. And all the while, I must add, you can see it's getting darker now. My engineer has told me rain is on the way, even though the indicator was completely clear skies. And here we are now. We find ourselves on lap 24, and it is raining. If you look close enough on the chassis, just on the halo and the bottom left there are some speckles of rain. And so the rain's come out of nowhere here in Austria, and so that's another spanner in the works for this entire Grand Prix. So now you can see as we move on to lap 26, 10 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and the rain really is coming down now at full pelt. It's still dry enough apparently though, as my engineer is not telling me to come in. Everyone's staying out right now, and at this point in the cockpit my mind was going back to Q2 at France, where we came in way too early for Inters and the car just spanned, so we can't take that risk right now. But the car is struggling. There's a lot of understeer you saw on those corners in sector 2, and as we go into the last corners, little bit of a tank stopper there, and a massive one then as we go through to the last corner. Have to go off on the runoff. Thankfully there's no gravel there, and so we can continue on. But Leclerc's got me, of course, because we've lost momentum, and so he's down the inside, and you can see Perez there almost trying to move on the outside. So it really is now a bit of a free-for-all in terms of we're all struggling for grip, but you can see Leclerc gets a good exit. So it's that unfortunate case of the AI are so consistent and so good at the power delivery when you've got these damp conditions. But here we go for the move. DRS as well, still available, but down the inside we have gone, and straight on we have gone as well. There's just no grip on the track right now. Well, my engineer is still adamant it's not time for Inters yet, and so we have to continue on. And just how many times are we going to have this of skating off the road and just about saving it because of the runoff there, as we now go to the inside to defend against Perez. It's a double lock up there, and that could have been a little bit nasty as we use Perez as a bit of a wall essentially to stop us going even further towards the curb on the outside there and maintain the P6. But even Hamilton now has closed up to us as everyone's slowing down. We go through turns 1 though, and you can just see, look at the lack of grip there on the rear end. The rear end squirming around. Perez now again on our inside this time. We've both got DRS here, which is, I'm pretty sure, very dangerous at this point. But Perez and me, so delicate on the brakes, trying to keep this in the black stuff there, but in between the white lines, and we just about hang on to that on the outside. All the while, I'm still trying to catch Leclerc, but now it's a case, honestly, it's a case of just trying to survive Perez's attacks at this point here. But we have DRS still available now, but it's the next right-hander. Oh my god! It's a double lock-up from us, and we just narrowly, by the smallest of margins, avoid Charles Leclerc and don't run to the back of him, but we have to go straight on through the gravel, and we're down to P10 then, as obviously you saw there on the minimap, everyone's so bunched up, so within 1 second, everyone just overtook me in a flash, and now I've been punted off nearly by Raikkonen as he just dives it to the inside there, and I've got no grip. My tyres are cooked now from the gravel, and I need to spin around, and also there's no grip on the track because it's too wet here, and so Giovinazzi has also got me. So in a blink, the race has gone from pretty okay, just about managing and surviving these conditions, to now it's ruined. It's a little bit ruined. We're down out the points now. We're going to come in. Somehow, everyone's still continued on. I for sure, once we went onto the gravel, that was it. I was going to come in. Stroll thought the same thing. Somehow, though, the rest of the AI all think, you know what, it's still dry enough to go out, which is a slightly annoying thing that always happens when it's these changeable conditions. It's exciting, but the AI are sometimes so good at managing that throttle and just the momentum when the track's too damp. And as a player, it's so hard to keep up with them, basically. So you always end up having to come in earlier than them, and you don't really feel like you're getting too much time being on the Inters. But for sure, after visiting the gravel trap, I just had to put them on because there was no way I was going to go on for another lap, especially because my tyres were also cooked. And so we come through on lap 30 now, 6 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and we're now up into P10. We have jumped Raikkonen there, so to be fair, we have gained a bit of time there, I guess, on him because he trundled around on the dry tyre still. But now we're P10, we've got 1 measly point to fight for, and we move on all the way to lap 36. 44 pretty much, and I've just got no pace in the inters. I've got no pace whatsoever. I thought I could maybe catch the train ahead. You can see there Weber is in P9, P10 now, so he's retired actually at this Grand Prix, my bad. So he's retired at this Grand Prix, so that's actually really annoying for him, because I think Weber was in P3 in the Renault. So the man who was so dominant at the start of this season now has had some pretty piss poor races as of late there. So we're up into P9 now, but my pace was so bad. I thought I could catch Kvyat and that train, because they're still on a train of him, Hamilton, Leclerc and Perez, but no, had no pace. And onto the second last lap of the Grand Prix, Stroll is trying to attack me on this right-hander, and look at how ridiculous this race is. DRS is enabled once more, so therefore I think it's dry enough now to re-enable it. So essentially, on this last lap of the Grand Prix, it's got back to how we were when the rain first started falling, basically. Now, technically, if the race went on for any longer, we should all be pitting back for dry tyres. Absolutely bonkers. I mean, you love to see it. F1 races are so good when it's this chaotic and everyone doesn't know what's going on. So I'm kind of, you know, in a way, it's entertaining, obviously, that I didn't know the rain was going to come at this point, and it's kind of thrown this entire race sideways, basically. But for us, personally, for a point standing, we're fighting for P9 here with Lance Stroll, which just isn't ideal, obviously, in the championship fight. Hulkenberg's going to be right up there for the podium, I believe, so consistent as ever there for the German. But Pierre Gasly then wins the Austrian Grand Prix in the Red Bull at the Red Bull Ring, but we come through just about through the last corner then for P9, but what a whirlwind of a race. It went from fighting Hamilton so hard, having an electric battle for, what was it, 7-8 laps, to then absolute chaos in the rain. Yeah, what a Grand Prix.
Red Bull pulling out all the stops today. What a great win. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
Well, they certainly stood out as a drive with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sport that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
We have it then. Once again, Nico Hulkenberg extends his championship lead, but to my surprise, actually, he was a lot further down the order than I thought. He was in P7 only. I thought he was in the podium positions. It's no, to Red Bull, and then Verstappen got up into P3, so fair play to him for making that charge, obviously, after early on, and then obviously the gaggle of cars, Leclerc, Perez, and Hamilton there ahead of Hulkenberg somehow, but that means in the championship, like I said, Hulkenberg still extends his lead. We remain in P2, but it's all closing up quite nicely now. You've got Hulkenberg, myself, Perez is in there, even Gasly now has gone to the top four. Gasly now is ahead of Weber, the man who, like I said, I thought we were going to have issues of Weber dominating this entire season, and you just love to see it. The F1 game just never lets that happen, and he's now down in P5, so it might be a 5-way, 6-way scrap, maybe even 7. You know, all of these cars could win races, so it's turning into a bit of a 2012 sort of thing where it's all so close, and there's so many cars that could vie for the race win potentially. Each race just depends on, well, you know, how the car's performing on a specific track, really. Constructors-wise, McLaren lead the way still. Red Bull now up into P2. We're down to P3 with Renault and Racing One obviously slipping down one order. Red Bull with a massive jump up with that 1-2, of course. So big race weekend for them. But it's just, yeah, very bonkers, enjoyable Grand Prix, but also, obviously, again, frustrating one, kind of like what happened in Canada, you know. Obviously, I felt we had more to give there. There was a better result there, and it was just, you know, one of those things where in those kind of conditions, you can make a mistake, and I did make a mistake, and it cost me big time there in terms of going off in the gravel, so it's just how it goes sometimes. So in terms of upgrades, I had a look at what our engine was saying in terms of the wear on it and what reliability I wanted to do, and I thought I would go for an energy store reliability upgrade. We've obviously got that one chassis upgrade coming in for next episode, so that'll be hopefully quite good to come in and help us on the brakes, and that was definitely something that was an issue this race, clearly, so maybe the brakes upgrade will help me next time out for sure. But guys, if you did enjoy what was such an insane Grand Prix, actually, one of the best ones in a while, actually, it was just a Grand Prix of two halves, really. Great battling in the first half, and then second half, just chaos. So if you did enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, subscribe for weekly full-on content. I've been Aarava. Have a good day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.